Welcome back to the Triple Threat Podcast. My name is Williamson, and today we've got a very special guest. He's back again, round two. Rod Symba is here. And before we get into anything, I don't think we need to do much introduction for Rod. He's a favorite on the podcast. But Rod, tell the viewers what you have to plug here, right, if you got their attention at the beginning.
What is up, everybody? I hope everybody's doing well and being positive. I just released yesterday Lunar Realms, which is my first instrumental project. It is I guess you can call it a hip hop R&B, a little bit of electronic sounds in there, but it's heavily inspired from like sci-fi movies from the 80s, which was a big part of my upbringing.
Yeah, so make sure to stream that. Of course, check out Rod Symba. He's the man. But let's get into a little conversation here. So, have you been watching some of the NBA playoffs?
I have. Wow, this has probably been one of the most exciting NBA playoffs, just from a showmanship aspect, from a gamesmanship aspect that I've seen in a very long time.
I think Ishan's got a lot to talk about the NBA.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
about last night, but about the rounds before that, the games before that.
Last night was just heartbreaking because we made zero coaching adjustments and we gave up after they went on a 22-0 run. But before that, as a Hawks fan, I've been pleasantly surprised and very happy to see a new identity and a new face of the franchise that we've really never had. So hats off to Trae Young, because when he's on his game, he's hard to stop on the offensive end. But to be honest with you, the Clippers, this is their first time making the conference finals. I don't know many people that can hate on Kawhi Leonard. I feel like you just generally root for him because he's such a team player, great two-way guy. So hopefully he can win a title back home in LA. And then Phoenix, I've always been a big Chris Paul fan. So if he actually ends up going to the finals for the first time, which is very probable at this point, that'll just be great for his legacy. And that'll be great because he's going to win that ring that he never won in New Orleans or LA or Houston. And then finally, the Bucks, I'm happy for them. At least they have a competitive shot at the finals. And Giannis has gotten a lot of slander these past two playoffs. So the fact that he's kind of elevated his game, the Bucks have elevated as a team, it eases some of the pressure off of him.
I like to see that mentality Giannis has. Just even though he misses a free throw, he'll come back down. Unlike Ben Simmons, and he'll try and do whatever he can to win the game. He doesn't let anything affect him. But I think that's just the mentality you gotta have. But they've had an easy path. A very easy, fortunate path for them, especially with James and Kyrie getting hurt. But who's been your favorite watch so far in these playoffs? Like, who's that one player in the NBA that's turned the TV on for you, Rod?
I'm gonna have to agree with Seth and say that it's definitely Trae Young. Trae Young, he's really coming to his own. When he was coming out of Oklahoma, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm not sure if this is going to translate, and it did. It really did. They've built a team around him. They're a very young, athletic team in the Hawks. I don't think they're out of it. To be completely honest, I don't think they're out of it. Trae Young has been a fantastic watch.
I think you've got a funny story about when the Hawks drafted Trae Young, right?
I was just about to talk about that. So I was going into freshman year of high school, immature little middle schooler me, and I was watching the draft. And leading up to the draft, I was watching all the Luka Doncic highlights. I'd see him I saw one video where he dropped two guys and hit a step back three. I'm like, yeah, this is it. And then when the Suns drafted Bagley, I'm like, oh my God, we're getting Luka. We're getting Luka. And then I saw the trade, and I was so disappointed. I started crying. I'm not even joking. I started crying. I'm like, I wanted Luka so bad. And when Trae had a very slow start to the rookie season, and then when Luka was killing it at the beginning of the rookie season, I was like, I told you so. I told you so. Typical Hawks, typical Atlanta team screwing everything up. But Trae picked it back up, and I'm so grateful that we have him because we've built a great team around Trae and around his strength. So, hats off to Trae for eliminating all of my doubt.
No, yeah, exactly. What'd you have to say, Rod?
Oh, I was going to present a question to you there, Seth. So I would say this: in a bizarro world, a multiverse world, do you think the Hawks are still in the playoffs if they have Luka instead of Trey right now?
Um, I would probably say yes. For sure. Like, I'd definitely say yes. We might have made the playoffs like a year prior too, but I don't think we would have been as successful. And I don't even know if we would have made it past Philly. Like, I don't think we would have made it past the second round just because this team is completely built around Trey, and the the culture, the coaching, all the schemes and stuff are built around Trey's playmaking ability and playmaking strengths. And while Trey and Luka share some strengths and some weaknesses together, I don't think it's the same. While there's a lot of overlap, there are definitely a couple of differences. So I I think that we would have definitely made a run, but I don't know if we would have made it this far with this certain roster around Luka Doncic.
Right? Especially if you think about what Luca brought. The Hawks made these offseason moves, bringing in Bogey, bringing in Gallo, in order to help Trey Young because they're complementary pieces that really match what he does as a playmaker. So I just wonder how that would have meshed if they had Luka Doncic. What moves would they have made in the offseason? And would they have been this competitive? Would they have made those moves if they already had Luka and made the playoffs the year before?
Yeah,
But you're going to be starting to hear that debate a lot. Luka or Trey, who's the better player?
I've been seeing it a lot.
I think a lot of people would probably talk about Trey right now just because of recency bias. But man, Luka is definitely a top three, top five player in this league, and
And he's still really young.
he's
Yeah,
Really young.
22.
That's
22.
and he's been like a pro for at least 7 years if you're counting the Real Madrid. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, so he's very polished. I will say this: he probably is a little bit more um, polished in a traditional NBA sense, or traditional professional sense than a Trey Young. They're both great players, obviously, but there's some things that make Luka a very dangerous player going into the future. I mean, if you look at it, um, he's putting up numbers, and I'm not trying to body shame Luka here, but he's not lifting a whole lot of weights. I think once he really gets into that part of his game and really adds a more physical aspect, the sky's the limit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I just said exactly. But I don't know how much you've been watching about some draft prospects, but definitely the Euro League is definitely becoming a more of a hotbed for NBA talent for sure. And I think that ability to have that pro experience going into the league is something that's just invaluable for these prospects. And I think that is something that's being more coveted and being more responsive to these NBA franchises. That legit talent could come out of the Euro League and be a meaty contributor instead of being a draft and stash kind of deal. So I really like to see that connection, that strength between European and American sports really bridged, and that's something that I think that can really be highlighted. I mean, you look at these whole ventures of NFL trying to get games in Germany, trying to get games in Spain. Um, what do you think's the next move for that Euro American kind of sports blend going on?
Well, I have a few things, right? One, I believe that slowly but surely, Americans are starting to adapt the world soccer field of load management in across all of our major sports. You see that with Kawhi Leonard, and you see that it's actually really effective. He doesn't play back to backs, and a lot of European soccer players, some of them may or may not play back to backs, and they stay fresh. We're seeing that concept translate over into our major sports. All right. Also, one thing that I've been following for quite a long time, for at least about 2 to 3 years, is PSG, Paris Saint Germain. They are slowly making a creep into the American market. I think what's going to happen is PSG will be when it comes to the bigger picture, but PSG are one of the biggest. They're one of the biggest financial giants in the European game, and they also do not have a Euro League team in basketball. They're sponsored by Jordan. A lot of their um, a lot of their marketing right now is basketball marketing. I believe what we're going to see in the very near future is a direct pipeline from PSG basketball to the NBA. That may be a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but I really feel like that's going to happen.
Now that's something that's really interesting because I know last podcast, Ishan and I were talking about that the those superpower soccer teams, the football teams, creating those basketball affiliates that they have. I mean, you look at the top players coming out. You got Garuba coming out of Real Madrid. You've got Sengun coming out of Besiktas. I mean, I think that that's exactly right. They're the one team sponsored by Jordan in Europe, and they're really making more of a lifestyle brand rather than a sports brand. Like they're trying to branch out of that market and bring in guys like Neymar for over 200 million and Mbappe for over 180. I mean, whether they can retain those talents remains to be seen. But that oil money that they've brought in with Khalifi, I believe that's his name, the owner of the team. It's really helped them out as a brand, and I think that's exactly right. I think that's the next step because there's a lot of French talent coming out. Sekou Doumbouya was French, right? Killian Hayes is French.
Killian Hayes was in France. Doumbouya was in France. Yeah.
Clint Capella was in France. Rudy Gobert. I think that once there's a more solidified basketball structure like there is for the soccer academies, like they have the under 18s, under 11s, under 8s. Like once they start bringing that into the basketball realm, I think the EuroLeague will definitely have a more pronounced effect on the NBA. And we're going to be seeing more than just one or two EuroLeague or international players come in the draft each year. So I think that's something that I haven't really thought about yet is PSG becoming a major benefactor of this wave of talent and that endorsement they have with Jordan.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. Seth, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely, especially with PSG, like what you said, the sponsorship with Jordan, and then guys like Jimmy Butler being friends with Neymar.
Yes.
And in the offseason, I know Jimmy was in Brazil for a little bit, just practicing with Neymar, improving their respective techniques. And that bridge, especially between basketball, that's where you see Jordan come in, and then soccer, bringing in the basketball culture, even the hip-hop culture, especially with like drill in France. That's where we're seeing these two leagues meet. And now that guys like Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Kristaps, now that these guys are kind of dominating the league, we've seen a plethora of international talent. I can kind of see the U.S. adopting different kinds of approach and different like new European style approaches, straying away from the traditional AAU to college approach and more pro teams, kind of like the G League Ignite, what they had with Jalen Green and Kuminga this year.
Most definitely, and what will get it to we'll get that culture to really pick up over here in America would definitely be once they're able to see that we can develop our athletes at a faster rate, at a younger age, have more funds being pumped into the communities, because that's a big thing with your world football, right? You'll have these academies. A lot of academies, okay, you bring up a world-class player and then you sell him on. They still have a sell-on clause for that academy. They'll still, every time that player is moved, that academy, which is put inside of a community, receives funds every time that player is moved. So it's almost like a pension, almost, as far as the funds that'll come in, and this will continue to go and go and go. I think it just has to make financial sense in America, and once they see that, we're going to see that culture be adopted pretty fast, in my opinion.
Yeah, you see those MLS teams, they already have their academies. I know it's a little bit tougher. I have a lot of friends in my school that used to go to the Atlanta United Academy, but they all switched out to play for varsity teams. So having that, it's gonna be a while before a culture's made, whether the varsity system is gonna maintain its popularity or whether these academies is going to be the predominant sports mecca in the United States. And I think one of the best connections between the EuroLeague and America is those international superstars. So I know Antoine Griezmann for Barcelona is talking about when his contract ends, he wants to come to America because he loves the culture here. Bringing someone in like Antoine Griezmann, a World Cup winner with France, having that kind of market power is such an important thing. And I think the most important thing about this culture wave is looking at the fans. Now, I've recently got a gig at Mercedes Benz, and comparing the Atlanta United fans to the Falcons fans is night and day. Like the Atlanta United fans, they care, they show up, they sell out, and they're loud and they are passionate. The Falcons fans, you'd be lucky to see them with 60-70% capacity, maybe giving one chant a game. They just kind of sit and enjoy the game.
We're pumping crowd noise into the stadium half the time. But I went to a United game a week ago with my friend, and we didn't sit in the crazy season ticket holder section, but where we were, there were just fans around us. It was very diverse. You saw everyone from all races, all backgrounds, and it was kind of like a melting pot where everyone was coming together and uniting, because with Atlanta, there's not a lot of people come here from other cities, whether it's New York or LA, or like my parents, they came from other countries. So they're not going to naturally become Hawks or Falcons fans. But when you start up a new club, everyone, regardless of where they're from, can kind of get behind it. And it's really created an atmosphere that's unparalleled in the city.
I just don't know how would the Falcons generate a culture like that? Like, what is it that sparks that soccer fandom? Like Rod, what do you think the an NFL team can do to try and emulate that kind of rivalry and that kind of passion that those soccer fans have?
You have to be connected to your community, right? That's a big theme. When you look at Atlanta United, they have a lot of different supporter groups. One of the bigger ones is called Footy Mob. All right, Footy Mob. Their name comes from the Atlanta rap group of the 90s Goody Mob, right? So you have a connection to a lot more of your to a lot more of the potential fans like that when you can add an element that people are already familiar with. Now with NFL, to be completely honest, it's the ownership and the people who can make the connections are not going to do it. They're not a lot of the owners, they don't come from diverse backgrounds. I believe there's one or two owners of color.
Yeah, there's Shad Khan, and then I guess kind of Arthur Blank, kind of. I mean, he's got
right.
some, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Maybe Shad Khan, yeah.
Exactly. So it's going to take a level of commitment to giving back to the communities. Also, you want to support the people that create the makeup of your team. You see Inter Miami down in Florida, they have a very, very heavy South American influence to everything they do. And for a startup team, they're pulling it. They have a lot of support for that, and that's what you have to do. I think a lot of NFL owners are really getting away from the people who really support their teams, and they're getting more so about the good old green dollar.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the distinction between good teams and bad teams. But what surprises me is that the Falcons, I mean, they seem like they care about the fans with the $1.50 hot dogs and free V-film machines throughout the stadium. Like, this seems like such a perfect environment for fans to come together around a team. But even during the Super Bowl run, I just don't think that was there. It's kind of baffling for me how a city that has shown the sports passion for the Hawks and for the Atlanta United has just been so empty for the Falcons. And Ishan, I think you could probably speak a little bit more towards that as a Falcons fan.
Yeah, it's definitely been tough. Like, during that Super Bowl run year, I went to a Falcons Cardinals game. And in my section, just in my row, I saw 3 guys with like Larry Fitzgerald jerseys. Like, Arizona Cardinals fans in Atlanta, what's going on? And it just kind of speaks to, like, when you go to a game, there's not much fan interaction. You don't really see celebrities from Atlanta at the games like you would at an NBA game. Like, sometimes you'll see like Quavo or 2 Chainz or like Outkast at a Hawks game. You don't really see that at a Falcons game. And the only like real celebrity endorser is like Samuel L. Jackson when he does the Rise Up commercials. And just once again, they're just not connecting to the fans. They just know that football, it's a large market. They'll bring in fans regardless, whether it's Atlanta fans or from the visiting team, and that will make money, but they're not trying to get any better. They're not trying to connect to the city. And in the long run, that hurts them instead of helping them.
Exactly. I think it just so the grandness of an NFL franchise. It doesn't seem intimate. The fans don't seem like it's a part of the team. There's some teams that have done it. Green Bay, obviously, with the fan ownership. Kansas City, New Orleans, Seattle. Those are teams that have had the fans really build that organization, and the fans have been an integral part of that team. And I think what helps that a lot. You look at soccer; they always have that ultra section of all the big supporters. That main right has that one section. When you put like-minded people that are all chanting together, you create a more open environment for the rest of the crowd to come in and pitch in. But when you have a stadium of 80,000 people and those diehard fans are all separated out in one section each, they're not going to be able to lead each section. There's no togetherness. There's no community that's being built there. And teams like Kansas City, all of them are those diehard fans because they've built that connection. They've built that open area and that culture. And I just don't see how NFL franchises are going to be able to recreate that unless that groundwork's already been laid.
Yeah, there's really not a sense of community like for the Falcons. Like Seattle, for example, during their dominant years, they had that 12th man thing.
Right.
Everyone would carry the 12 jerseys, the 12 towels, and the whole stadium, 70,000 people, just came together as one unified 12th man. And that is how you bring fans together. But, another part of it is team success. We talk about Green Bay, we talk about Pittsburgh, we talk about Seattle, we talk about Kansas City. Those are all teams that are good right now and have been historically good. And to be honest, as a Falcons fan, we've never really had that kind of prolonged team success. It's maybe one or two big seasons and kind of falling into mediocrity and coming back again.
Exactly. So I think that's well one more thing in the NFL. Anything interesting about Cowboys offseason? Heard anything interesting? If you don't know, Rod Symba is a big Cowboys fan out there.
Um, you know, I'm happy to see Dak healthy. I'm happy to see him slinging the ball around. I want to go on record for saying that I do believe that C.D. Lamb was the best rookie receiver last year. I think he was better than Justin Jefferson, given 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 what actually happened throughout the season. But I digress.
That's bold.
That's very bold.
Kelvin Joseph is my story for the Cowboys. All right. He originally signed with LSU, finished up his career with Kentucky. He held Devontae Smith to, I think, 3 catches for, I want to say, under 50 yards. And when he was drafted, all of the draft nicks that I'm watching were like, oh, what is this pick? What is this pick? But if you just look a little bit behind the curtain, this guy was a 4-star recruit coming out. For whatever reason, he had some disciplinary problems. And we kind of look past that in Dallas. But he's I think that he's going to be a big-time player. Big time.
Yeah, no, I love Kelvin Joseph. He was 35 on my big board in the draft, so I was considerably higher than him in the media. The media had him around a late second, early third round pick kind of grade, but his athleticism, his production, his ball skills, you look at him as such a toolsy player, and I think that he and Trayvon Diggs, I don't know if Chido Uzie is still there.
No, he's on the Bengals, I believe, right now.
That's a good pickup for them. So I think him and Trayvon Diggs can create a pretty solid partnership, but I think this year is still going to be a lot of growing for both of them because obviously both of those guys came out incredibly raw. But I think that's definitely a good building block for that franchise. And then what did you make of the Micah Parsons pick at what was it, 11?
12.
12 because they traded back.
Back, yeah.
He's a big, physical, athletic guy. I want him to be healthy. They say you scout the player, not the helmet. Penn State linebackers, they're not known to have very long careers. I want him to be healthy and ball out for us and break that whatever that mojo that's coming from Penn State. He's going to be a great player, great player, and he has been healthy. He looks very well from what I could see from the mini camp footage. He looks very well put together. Play him all over the field. He's going to be a good one.
Do you think that's kind of ushering out Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch? Because they also picked up, what was it? They picked up, what's his name? Out of LSU. This is going to kill me.
Oh, I know. He came
I'll
from North
get
Dakota
you.
State and transferred. Oh my goodness.
Hold on, I got it. It's Jabril Cox, of course. How did I forget
Yeah.
that one? And then other great players. They got Josh Ball, Simi Fehoko. I mean, it was Osa Odigizua. I mean, I thought this draft for the Cowboys was really good. Put Jerry on that yacht, and they'll be all right. But I think that's something that we'd be remiss not to go back to, is that CD Lamb comment. So
Yes.
what makes him better than Justin Jefferson? Because I think Justin Jefferson is a top 10 receiver already. I think Ishan agrees with that one. We are the Justin Jefferson fan base. We are the Justin Jefferson fan club. More so me as an LSU
Yeah,
fan.
you're an LSU fan.
I had him as number 7 in my draft board last year. How is CD Lamb better than J Jeff?
A lot of Cowboys bias goes into that. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, but I do believe that Justin Jefferson had a little bit more consistency with team wise than what CD Lamb had. CD was still able to perform, and the team was essentially throwing whoever was healthy on the offensive side of the ball out there, and our stars really weren't. Our other stars outside of CD Lamb weren't really performing as well as they could through that difficult season there. I just feel that that CD Lamb, he just has a little bit more wiggle to his game. He has a little more breakout speed. I like him over the middle. Justin Jefferson's great over the middle as well. But I'm rolling with CD, man.
If you don't know how much Rod loves CD, last year in fantasy, I think we had a little mid-season trade there. I think I got Terry McLaurin for CD and something else. I forget what it was, but definitely looked like the better trade for me at the end of the season, especially with what was their quarterback? They had Dalton, but who was the other guy? Ben DiNucci, yeah.
Ben DiNucci.
Yes.
From James Madison.
That was a tough season for you guys, and I think that really just highlights how important Dak was for that team. And I don't think a lot of people realized that Dak was single-handedly responsible for those teams' wins. And then people go, "Oh, he was 1-3 with the Cowboys last year. He wasn't good. He was on pace for almost 6,700 yards. Like, he was electric last season, and I don't think many people respect how good he was, or people were forgetting how good he was because of the fact that he got hurt and that we didn't see him. But what are you expecting from Dak this season?
I am, especially with the new extra game added on. I think you're going to see. I'm not going to throw any numbers out there, but I do believe you're going to see him really move himself into that top 5 conversation. That's not me being biased at all. You're going to see it. With time, when you're injured, not only are you rehabbing, but you have a lot of time to watch your own film, to fix a lot of your own mistakes, and you can fix a lot of your own mistakes kind of mentally, and then being able to go out on the field and say, maybe I have to drop my shoulder a little bit, pick up my elbow, something of that can make it mean a difference in a person's career. And I think that just by seeing Dak's aura, he's ready. He's ready to take it up to this next level. And we're going to have to score 40 points because our defense, we're hoping everything will be well.
He certainly got the means to do it. I think that top 4 is pretty solidly locked off right there. But with Deshaun not playing, I mean, he could fall out of the top 4. Russell Wilson's had some inconsistency problems. Lamar. I think that's definitely a spot for him to come up there. I think he's sitting around 8 or 9 or 8 or 7 in my book right now. But I mean, top 5 for sure is definitely a goal of his. And if the Cowboys want to make it to the playoffs and have a deep run, it's gonna be if Dak Prescott plays like a top 5 quarterback for sure.
Definitely. He's going to have to take some games over.
So let's move on. We had a little bit of interesting conversation before the podcast started about some of the recent news in boxing. So, Logan
Yeah,
Paul, Jake Paul, any of the Pauls. Um,
KSI.
there's been a lot of interesting media generated about this conversation of these influencers getting into the boxing game. I know that term influencers kind of used kind of derogatory to kind of discredit the accomplishments of these guys, but I mean that's what they are. I mean I think that's what they describe themselves as. I just ashamed that it's being used that way. But what if you made this entrance in this highlight of the boxing world made by the Pauls and brought by the influencers? I don't know, they have a whole TikTok YouTube fight. Maybe that was a bit maybe that should be called an influencer fight, but Jake Paul and Logan Paul definitely are the real deals. What have you made about that going forward?
I think that's good for the sport. Some people like it, some people don't quite like it, but it's putting more eyes on the sport. Boxing was fading as far as in viewership. You'll have your spikes here and there for like your title fights, like your Tyson Furies and things of that nature. But otherwise, it was pretty stagnant. But now you've added almost WWE element to it now. You know, with a lot of the fanfare around it that the Paul brothers bring. A lot of show, and they're not bad athletes. That's the thing. They're not bad athletes at all. I believe you're going to see more people in that influencer realm have these exhibition fights. This is going to be this. I think this is really going to be a thing. Don't be surprised if you see Juju Smith-Schuster out there next. But that's just a little joke here and there. But it's going to bring a lot of eyes to the sport, a lot of finances to the sport. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Like, hey, I'm not a boxing head, but I've watched a lot more boxing since they've been involved than I have recently.
That's for sure. I don't think I watched a single. I watched the McGregor Mayweather fight. I watched the McGregor versus
Heck yeah.
Poirier fight. But unless you've got that big name and that draw, you're not going to get the layman to come out and watch a fight. But when you have a Logan Paul or a Jake Paul or something that brings a different audience in, you're creating more buzz. Whether you like it or you hate it, you're going to be watching, and that's the bottom line. You're going to be watching.
Yep.
We see the numbers. If you're a hater, you're going to see how Logan Paul fails. If you love it, you're going to see how Logan Paul does, and that's just the end of it. But my only concern about this is how many other influencers can be like, oh, Logan Paul could do it, I can do it, because Logan Paul was a state champion wrestler. Like,
Right.
he has the background. He's got the ability. He's just someone who's athletic that also is an influencer. I just hate to see these other people come out. Like, look at Bryce Hall, man. He thought he could fight. He was
Yeah,
0
that
3
was
wrestling, got knocked out by a 30-year-old family channel.
Yeah.
Like,
that was embarrassing.
I think that if influencers want to have some credibility in the boxing game, they've got to start without the big name. They can't start with the flashy fight. That can never be the start of it. Like, look at Chad Trasinko. He was an undercard. He was like the fourth card on that fight, on the Logan Paul Mayweather fight. Like, he wasn't the big name. He didn't create this whole buzz around it. Like, if you want to, like, create your name for yourself, you got to build your brand before you can take that big stage. And I mean, even looking at what Logan Paul and Jake Paul did, it was KSI. It started off with Joe Weller boxing in a garage, and then KSI was like, "Oh, let's fight." It was kind of just a thing for his fans. It wasn't some whole boxing publicity thing. It was just kind of a fan interaction thing. It was entertainment for the fans. That became Logan Paul. He called it the Pauls just because, at the time, everyone hated the Pauls. And that brought them into that gained notoriety, and that's where we are today. And my take on this whole thing is I'm cheering for the Pauls. But I don't like Jake. Logan's fine. But what I like is I like seeing them win. Because if they lose, this gig's up. Because you're going to lose the attention. You're going to lose the name recognition. So I just want to keep seeing him win. So you have any thoughts on the next fight? I don't know how much you know about or is it Tyron Woodley? His next fight, Jake Paul.
I think this is actually a better fight than what a lot of people are anticipating. I think they're both great athletes. I think Paul's a little bit bigger than Woodley. Woodley's maybe like 150-ish.
I can check that.
and that's always going to be a factor. Um, but and Woodley has an MMA background, but he was a very good striker within MMA. I don't. That's going to be a tough fight to call. If you have a quick tail of the tape, when it comes down to, you know, DePaul's always going to have a puncher's chance. He's always going to have a puncher's chance. These aren't small guys. You know what I mean? They're pretty well put together. So I'm just looking forward to a good fight. To be honest with you.
I mean, Tyron he's built.
Yeah.
He looks like he's the real deal. I know we've been getting into the more of the boxing game recently, but I just looked it up. 5'9" compared to Jake Paul's 6'1". I know that's definitely a lie. Jake Paul is like 6 foot flat. There, I know he's not 6'1". That's a lie that they've put forth. But
He's only 170 too.
yeah, but
Woodley.
that's still 3 inches, even if Jake Paul's 6 foot. I think that I think Usman would have been a better fight. I actually probably would not have been. Usman definitely would have won that fight for sure. But I think Woodley it's a good stepping stone. Jake Paul's doing this the smart way, because if he went, Logan got lucky with his route that he didn't get knocked out by Mayweather,
Definitely.
but he's building his way up. Every boxer does this. I mean, I think everyone started off with their 10 first fights basically janitors or wannabe fighters or guys they found off the street. Like, just get that record up, get that attention up, get that notoriety before you take the big stage. Because if you go up 0-1 in your first fight, it's never a good sign. Like,
No.
Logan Paul might be the only outlier, the first guy I want to know that has the biggest fight of his life. The biggest fight is his next fight, because he lost to KSI and then got the Mayweather fight. So that is definitely something that you're not going to see often. But Isha, you got anything else?
Yeah, the other thing I was gonna say, kind of looking at Tyron Woodley, is, and even McGregor, boxing. Now that you have these influencers here, you have all these UFC fighters and MMA guys coming in and taking their hand at boxing. So that has also grown the sport. So I've like you, I've only seen the big fights like Mayweather McGregor, Mayweather Pacquiao, and like I'm not gonna pay $50 for some guys that I've never heard of. But now that there are these like celebrities, especially guys like KSI that I kind of grew up watching, and these MMA fighters that I see on like Instagram all the time, the fact that they're all coming together and doing boxing, it's definitely pushing the sport forward. And I know all the boxers and the boxing heads hate it, but it is bringing popularity to the sport. So that's one good thing.
I see it like this, right? I believe there's definitely a market for it. And to be honest, the groundwork has been laid for this. I want to say 10 years or so in the past, maybe longer than that. Might be aging myself, but there was a show that came on MTV a while ago called Celebrity Deathmatch, where they would have, your different influencers. It was like clay animation, but have them do that. And people took a lot of interest into that show. That show ran for, I want to say, about 7 or 8 years, something of that nature. So, these are things that people want to see. People want to see folks that they watch on TV doing regular people things involved in combat sports. There's definitely a market for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we humanity just has that tribalism in them. I mean, that's why they built the Colosseum, that's to appease the Roman people. I mean, that's why football is such a popular sport, because of that violence. Why people love hockey. Um, it's that innate, just human brutishness that just
Yep.
draws people towards that kind of style. Um, but don't forget, if you're in the comments below, you can leave a question for Rod. We'll make sure to bring it up. And Ishan, I know you were about to say something there, so go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna mention the comments. We haven't had any so far, but any questions, any thoughts, any comments, just drop it down and we will respond.
All right, so what do you want to hit next, Ishan? I'll let you lead the conversation a little bit here.
You know what? We've talked about soccer a little bit, but let's talk about the Euros, Euro 2020. Rod, what team are you supporting, and any predictions now that the round of 16 is set?
Yes. First, definitely have to say, get well soon to Erickson. Definitely, hope the best for him and his future. As far as My favorites in Euros. Hmm. I'm supporting England with this one. I'm supporting England. I believe from their first 11 to their squad, they have bounds of talent. Southgate just has to put the right people on the pitch at the right times. And hey, thus far, although some of his tactics have been questionable, it's worked. So no arguments from me. The Netherlands look very, very strong. Um, let's see, Germany, they're always going to be fit. But I'm rolling with England. I'm rolling with Southgate. I believe in Southgate. People are calling for him to get sacked, and I think that's unjustifiable, to be honest with you. But
I
what you
mean,
got?
yeah, exactly. They've conceded one goal in their past 9 games, won 8 of their last 9. I mean, it has been pretty. They've been 1-0s, 0-0s. I mean, it has been that flashy football you'd expect for a team with this much talent. But exactly, they've gotten the work, they've gotten the job done. And if you told England when they lost to Iceland 5 years ago in the Euros that they'd won 8 of 9, they'd have the most talented roster, arguably, in the whole tournament. I think that's what you would take. But the fact that this team's got so much offensive talent with Grealish, Sterling, Kane, Foden. I mean, just seeing that firepower, that you're not seeing the goal output for that. I think that's kind of the cause for concern. I think that's why the English fans have been so critical of Southgate. And then the decision, I think, obviously this is more of a niche kind of thing as a Southampton fan, but they people don't like the fact that he didn't call up Ward-Prowse. Has played every minute for 2 seasons straight, is the best free kick taker in the Premier League and arguably in Europe, and he played exceptionally well. Was man of the match in his game before the Euros, uh, and then just didn't get called up. Especially when you have the most fouled player in Grealish, you have such a lethal offensive talent with Mount and Foden and Sterling that all draw the most fouls. You mean Kane scored almost all of his goals at the World Cup by set pieces, and you're not going to call up your best set piece taker, especially when you have one center mid, out and out center mid, and that's Henderson, who's been injured. So I think that was kind of my first time kind of questioning Southgate. But that's more of a bias thing, as like a CD Lamb kind of thing. I'm a Southampton fan. I love James Ward-Prowse, so that's kind of my take on it.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. It's one of those things. There's so much. The talent pool in England is so deep that somebody is going to have to get left out. But they could have brought Ward-Prowse around. He's really good. Like he's really good. I'm not just saying that. Like he gives me problems in FIFA 21 all the time. So yeah, most definitely, man. But I think that Southgate, and maybe this is wishful thinking, I think that he was maybe holding back in the group stage, maybe holding back just a little bit, just so no one figures him out. You know, maybe, and that's maybe what I'm thinking. Maybe he's playing super defensive just so no one figures out what he really wants to do offensively, and then we may see something here in the knockout stage, round of 16. I don't know, man, but I still think it's coming home.
It's it might be coming home, but they've got a tough one against Germany at Wembley. A game that you would have thought would have been less competitive a couple of years ago, but looking at it objectively, England have a better roster,
Yes.
objectively a better coach because Joachim Low has not been impressive, and Germany have had some. They lost to North Macedonia. They lost 6-0 to Spain, but they beat Portugal 4-2. I mean, they should have been in France. They're the better team on the day. They've got a great roster. They've got great talent, but defensively, that's their issue, and that's their biggest weakness. And England, they've got to attack this game. I think they've really got to take it to Germany because they drew one of the most unlucky fixtures, probably outside of Belgium or Portugal, which is definitely the game everyone's looking for. Definitely looks like the best game so far. That's something that I'm going to be looking for. So you're taking England over Germany right there?
I am, and I agree with you. They're going to have to attack. You can't sit back and let Germany, play tiki taka with you because it's going to end up bad really early. You're going to have to actually go out there and make a statement. very very early in the game, and they have the attacking power to do it. I just hope it happens.
So I think there's a couple last things on the Euros. This will be close to home for both of us. You talk about Netherlands. Frank de Boer. He coached Crystal Palace for 5 games. He came over to Atlanta United and was not good, and then somehow got the Netherlands job. This team does not look like they're listening to Frank de Boer because they're playing some great attacking football, and that is something that you're not going to see with Frank de Boer because he was 0 goals in his time at Crystal Palace.
Yep,
Was just
yep.
not good at Atlanta United. So what if you made him Holland's team, and what if you made a Frank de Boer doing a coaching job?
The thing with Holland's team, Holland has such a culture of that total football 4-3-3 attacking type of play. So I think that no matter who is really coaching that side, they're going to play Netherlands brand of football. That's just kind of something that you had Cruyff who brought that formation and made it popular. And I think that DNA is always going to live on. You hear some players play for the badge more than they play for their coach. I think that is true, especially when you're speaking about the Netherlands.
And who's been exceptional has been Memphis Depay. I mean, Memphis has been exceptional throughout this. It's 102 league goals and assists and 115 appearances for Lyon, which he's left Man United. Has been exceptional. Daniel Malen was great last game, and then Gini Van Alden has been exceptional. And then guess who? What he's joining PSG this offseason. So it all comes full circle. Gravenbach is a great young player in the middle, but a team that defensively has one of them 10 shots a game on them. I mean, I just wonder how they're gonna to fare because they are so opposite Frank de Boer. All ultra attacking, loose defensively, playing that 3-4-1-2 kind of formation. I know they played like North Macedonia because they've got those wing backs and Dumfries and Van Aanholt. So I don't know how they're going to fare. They've got a pretty favorable matchup in the first round. I believe they're playing, They're playing Czech Republic. But man, that's going to be exciting to see them. They're just going to score goals, and that's pretty much what they're going to do.
That's how they play. That's the DNA of the Netherlands team. Score goals and hope you score more than the other team.
And then I think the best matchup of the first round, Belgium Portugal, arguably the top 2 teams in the world right now. I think Belgium is ranked number 1. Portugal reigning Euro champions. Who do you have coming out of this one? And what's your analysis on this one?
Well, I believe Belgium is probably one of the more talented teams and it's to be such a small country. For one, they have just talent on talent. Lukaku is going to be the difference maker in this game. If Belgium gets into that long ball style of play, I believe they have a chance. But if this becomes a defensive struggle, Portugal has some firepower, man. They definitely do. But I'm going to take Belgium in this one.
Yeah, both the teams are pretty similarly constructed, both kind of on the older side with some young players throughout the middle. But you look at both of these teams, and defensively, both of them are a little bit on the older side and a little bit iffy. So obviously, you got Belgium, they've got Vertonghen, they've got Alderweireld, who was at Southampton, and they've got Denayer in the middle. A very older defense, a little bit shaky. And then you look at Portugal, I mean, they're playing Pepe, they're a lot younger on defensively, but that's definitely their weakness, their teams. Semedo was not great. Guerrero has been a little bit shaky. Ruben Diaz was the Premier League player of the season, but so he's been exceptional. But the rest of that defense is very old, and then Rui Patricio in goal, just on the older side. So it'll be a fun one. I think that's one that you're going to guarantee is going to be a goal fest right there, just with all the offensive weapons and all the defensive liabilities.
I expect a few long shots in this game as well. I expect to see a few long shots attempted. I believe it.
A quick thing on Crystal Palace. They're losing Roy Hodgson. They got 15 players out of contract from the first team. If you don't know, this is Rod's team. He's a Palace fan. What do you make of their off seasons? Because they've got a lot of work to do, starting with finding a coach and then maintaining some roster spots and making some room and retaining some players.
Well, I would say this. First thing that we have to, well, not that we have to do, we have to get a new coach in there. I have to get a new manager, and I believe his name escapes me, but
Lucian, is it? No, it's not Favre. He's the old Brewster Dortmund coach that they're like
correct.
too. It's it's not Favre. It's I'll look it up, but you keep talking about it. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
most definitely, man. And so he denied and said no. I think that there's two ways that Crystal Palace can go as far as getting a manager or who they name as manager. You either want to go with a veteran coach who has solid tactics, and we've tried that, and it never really got us past mid-table, to be honest with you. I think that what we have to do is we have to go for a manager that has a lot of influence, um, a person that players are going to want to come play for, so we can maybe fill those potential 15 players that we may miss. A name that I would like to throw out there, it will not, probably won't happen. But I would like to see him in a manager position. He hasn't had that hot of a record, but I'm going to throw Thierry Henry out there. I would like to see him take the job at Crystal Palace.
yeah. I mean, you're gonna look at that time at Monaco as example A of his managerial talents, but as assistant coach for Belgium, he's been great. He's someone that's got experience in the Premier League and uh, definitely someone that the players would respect and admire. But definitely got a point to prove after that disaster at Monaco, almost getting them relegated. And then it was Lucien Favre that was expected to be the boss at Crystal Palace that turned down the job last minute because I mean they expected to hire him,
Yeah,
and the deal fell through, which was I thought Favre would have been a really good hire for you guys, really bringing in that culture and identity to the team. But I think it's going to be it's a difficult offseason for you guys. Maintaining Zaha. Every chance he's going to be out for most of the season next year with the injury.
that hurt. That hurt big time.
And then Kuyata's not getting any younger. I mean, it's a lot of work Crystal Palace has got ahead of them.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. I think, and with Zaha being one of my favorite players, it hurts me to say this. It may be time to sell him on, see if we can get rid of our one big piece, give him what he wants, because at the end of the day, he wants Champions League football. At the end of the day, see if there's a team willing to make a deal, take the money from his price tag, which I think is, I'm not sure what the valuation is of him. Last time I checked, it may have been 75 million pounds, something like that.
That's what they're asking for, but I doubt they'd get more than, especially with him up at 20, 28, 29 now.
Yeah, 28.
I think you'd be able to get maybe 40, 45, especially with post-COVID. I think that'd be
True.
more of a reasonable price tag for him.
True. Yeah, and I think at that time I think a youth movement is definitely needed at Crystal Palace. Just to add some new blood. It's been pretty stale over there, man. I mean, I'm a fan through and through, but I know what good attractive football looks like, and we have our moments, but something needs to change.
Yeah, I think that's definitely we can both relate to. Southampton fan, Crystal Palace fan. We've had the ups and downs. Southampton were top of the table in November, and then they were the worst team in 2021. So, very, very interesting situations both of us have. Unsure financially, future-wise, and then we'll see. Both of us have interesting off seasons going ahead, and we'll see how we do the upcoming season. Just praying for another year. I think that's kind of the boat we all are in. Would like to see Europe, but I think both of us realize that that's not in the cards for a couple more seasons. So, Ishan, you want to bring it back to something that's more your wheelhouse because you're not the biggest Premier League soccer fan as Rod and I are.
I haven't watched a Premier League game in ages. My dad's a big Liverpool fan, so I'll watch them sometimes. We'll watch his Liverpool games, but I haven't really been keeping up with soccer that much. But I guess we can bring it back to yeah, I'm thinking we can maybe talk about the playoffs a little bit, talk about the upcoming draft. Rod, I don't know if you're a college basketball fan too much, but any exciting prospects that you've seen maybe coming into the NBA soon?
I'm a big fan of Jalen Green. Big fan of Jalen Green.
Mm-hmm.
I like Jalen Green. I don't want to go chalk and say like I'm like Cade Cunningham, but I really do like his game. With Detroit having the top pick, I hope that I don't say I do pick Cade Cunningham. I think the NBA is better when Detroit is actually good. It's kind of like when the NBA has like these like forefather teams, right? Your Lakers, your Knicks,
Celtics.
Celtics. When those teams are good, it makes for great NBA basketball. So the Pistons, man. I need the Pistons to make this pick just to make those regular season games a little bit more exciting to watch, and hopefully bring Detroit back to prominence because they were pretty good not too long. Well, relatively not too long ago. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Jalen Green, I think, out of all the prospects, has the most potential as a scorer. He is an excellent scorer. He can score from all three levels. But I feel like Cunningham's a little bit more well rounded. But, Detroit has kind of been stuck in no man's land. And that's where I can see teams like Indiana or Orlando heading into where they're not contending, they're not really rebuilding. And when you get a number one pick, especially in a draft with so many franchise changing players, that's when the direction of the team will trend upwards. Like as a Hawks fan, we made the playoffs from 2010 to 2008 to 2017 just consecutively, but we got to the conference finals once and got swept there. So when you have ownership, when you have a GM that wants to move in a new direction, and I wouldn't necessarily say tank, but kind of sell and relinquish the best assets you have that are not really part of your future plans, that's when you're trending out of no man's land and into a rebuild and hopefully into contention because the Hawks, I'm not going to say they're contending, but they definitely
they're
made
in
the
the
right
Final
move.
Four, so I mean, that's pretty close to contending as you can get.
But I say contending as like a team that is a consistent top 5 to 6 team.
Yeah.
Like the Lakers or the Clippers, teams that in the next couple of years, regardless of what happens, will give you a run for their money. Like I wouldn't like I still have my doubts about Miami coming into the season. I didn't view them as a true contender as opposed to a team like Brooklyn that didn't make it past the second round for a while, but they do have the star power and they look to be a team that should be able to make a run in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and with Kate, I think what's important is just having those teams having a star player. I mean, there was no identity with the Pistons, and
Yeah.
and to win a franchise, win playoff games, you need a star focal man. You gotta have your Trae Young, gotta have your Luka, you gotta have your star player. The NBA is such a driven league. I mean, look at the Pacers. They've got four great players, but you know why they're not good? Because they don't have a star.
Yep. My favorite team is actually the Charlotte Hornets. So we finally landed our star man, and it gives you hope. It makes you feel, even though you may not be like contending, having that star man, it makes being a fan watching those regular season games. You're like watching it with like silver lining flying everywhere. You might be down by 15, but you're like, you know what? We've got something here. And I'm gonna say this. There's a certain guy by the name of Zion Williamson who was out.
No, you can't have him. You can't have him.
But I don't think that it would be smart move for Zion to leave. I will say that it would not. They can build something in New Orleans. They can.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, but I think that Zion, you have Ingram, you have guys like Lonzo. I feel like in the backcourt, you need a little bit more scoring. And I feel like in the front court, guys like Steven Adams won't work because that's just going to clog up the paint. So building a team around the star player as opposed to just acquiring talent is a big difference. And then also coaching is so massive. We had the same roster with Lloyd Pierce. We went 14-20. Then we switched to Nate McMillan, and we went 31-12 at the end of to close out the season. So hopefully you guys find your coach. I know Jason Kidd's to the Mavericks. Chauncey is.
That was who I wanted. Chauncey.
Yeah, Chauncey. That's going to be good for Lillard because Lillard really wanted Chauncey Billups there. So he's up there in Portland. So I think maybe even like Mike D'Antoni, some more offensive-minded coach to utilize Zion's skills as a finisher and playmaker. That could be great.
Either of the Nets guys. I know we're being heavily linked with Jack Vaughn. I think that's probably our hottest candidate right now. But it's not great being a Pelicans fan right now because you have that silver lining of Zion Williamson, but you're now getting the realization that if it doesn't go right, you're gonna have another Anthony Davis on your hands, and you don't want to see that happen again.
Yeah.
Because that was ugly at the end. Wearing that's all folks shirt. We had Monty Williams, we went for Alvin Gentry, then we hired Stan Van Gundy. The direction of the team doesn't look great. Apparently, David Griffiths is very power hungry and wants a lot of control over the lineup, which is not going to mesh well with coaches. Really, really pissed some of the coaches. He's really pissed got Van Gundy off. It's just a situation where you got to do it Atlanta Hawks. Hawks had 2 years with Trae Young, not great. Third year, went in, got complimentary assets. Capella, Gallo, Bogey. They got guys that I criticized them at the time because I'm like, oh, this is not going to be a contending team. These guys aren't going to make Trae Young the best player in the league. This team's not going to contend with this roster. But look at them now. I mean, they can take the series against the Bucks. I know last night wasn't pretty, but it's still 1-1. I mean, it's better than us watching the lottery and being mad about getting the 10th spot. I mean, I think it's time. I mean, Trae Young was starting to get a little bit unhappy. You hear the rumblings there. You're hearing the same things in New Orleans. So hopefully that lights a fire, but we'll have to wait and see because it's interesting because we need our Nate McMillan. Maybe not the best coach, but the coach that's right for the job. And I hope that they find that guy. I don't know who that's going to be, but I hope we find him.
Yeah, I think one. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that the one coach that may be right for the New Orleans job may, in fact, take another job. I think that, and that sounds elementary to say, but the person that I think that is right for the job will end up taking the Orlando Magic job if it's not open already, and that's Penny Hardaway. I would definitely take a hard look at a Penny Hardaway for a head coach. He could fit in out of New Orleans. He can fit in even with that Magic team. So at that point, it comes down to who he feels comfortable with. But I don't think Penny Hardaway is going to stay too much longer in the college ranks.
That's something that I haven't thought about too much. I was kind of laser focused on Billups. I thought that would have been a really good option for us. But Penny'd be exciting and watch us hire some Jeff Van Gundy now. Try the other brother. Or I know I'm gonna be disappointed, so I'm not getting my hopes up with the coaches because last year we're like, oh, we're gonna get Doc. Doc, it's a better destination than Philly. Philly's got Ben Simmons and Embiid. I mean, they don't fit well together. They've got so many issues. That roster's not great. Look, come to the Pelicans. And then look, he got them to the first place in the East and should have won that series. Unfortunate that they just had some mental issues because he did a great job building that roster. But you got the Celtics job open, which is appealing. You've got that Magic job, which is at current pace is just as appealing as the Pelicans job. And then what other gigs are open right now?
Dallas is shut now.
Yeah.
Oh, Indiana's open, right?
Yeah, Indiana's open.
Oh no, they hired Rick Carlisle.
Oh,
I didn't see that. Oh wow, that would have been
Yeah,
another good coach for us.
okay. I like that.
Good thing I didn't see that because I would have been very disappointed to see that.
Yeah.
Are the Mavs are open then?
No, the Mavs hired Kidd.
Oh yeah, what am I talking about? Obviously.
So of the 7, you have Boston, Orlando, New Orleans. Yeah, I think that's it because Portland got Billups, Indiana got Carlisle. I'm forgetting one team. I'll end up looking it up. I'll look at it.
Howard is also out there as well as a possible coming from the college ranks to the pros. Juwan Howard is a good name.
Yeah.
I don't think he's
done-
gonna leave though.
Yeah, I doubt he's gonna leave. He's at home in Michigan, and they're a great team now. But I do like his coaching. I do like a lot of players on the Michigan roster. Franz Wagner, especially, I think he will transition super well to the NBA, and he's one of the most NBA ready prospects in the class. But I don't know any other college coaches that are either willing to make the transition or want to just yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Penny would be great because he has faced some issues in Memphis, but he's kind of turned the team around in a way. They attracted Wiseman and then more five-star talent there. And while they haven't obviously performed to expectations that time, it's now becoming a hotbed for even a couple five-star prospects to come in every year. So they could eventually existing powerhouse. But Penny jump-started that at his alma mater.
The Pels need a recruiter like that to come help the talent, help Zion stay, help bring everybody in. But we've hit the hour marks. We should start wrapping this up. Anything else you got to add, Rod? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to talk about?
I just wanted to say thank you, man. Thank you, both of you. Every time I come on here, it just feels like good old times, man.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily need an itinerary or anything. We just kind of go, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Yeah, man. Lunar Realms it's already out, streaming everywhere. Apple Music, you can use it as your sound on TikTok. Yeah, I put it everywhere. So stream.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely check out Lunar Realms on all platforms. And like what Rod was saying, we were actually talking about this in yesterday's episode. When we have a guest, especially someone like you, who we kind of know on a better level, and we can talk about a diverse array of topics, it goes from a scripted podcast to more of a conversation. And that's what Will and I like to do. We don't really do scripts. We just put down bullets and put down stats and a bit of an outline, but we don't even do that here because we have so much to talk about. You have so much knowledge in so many fields. So it was great having you. Definitely probably the most enjoyable podcast we've had in a while. We love having guests, by the way. So if you want to hop on, for anyone that's watching, just send us an email or send us a thing at our website. But, thank you, Rod. It's great having you. And I guess we'll sign off there. I'm Ishan Cheth with Triple Threat Podcast. Joining me as always, Willie Mizell, Rod Symba here, and that's it.